Welcome back. Episode 87. Resistance, Part 2. I want to read you something that Pressfield wrote about himself. My writing philosophy is a kind of warrior code, internal rather than external, in which the enemy is identified as those forms of self-sabotage that I call resistance, with a capital R. A technique for combating these foes can be described as turning pro. I believe in previous lives and the muse, and that books and music exist before they are written, and that they are propelled into material being by their own imperative to be born, via the offices of those willing servants of discipline, imagination, and inspiration, whom we call artists. It is one thing to study war, and it's another thing to live the warrior's life. Is there something you've been meaning to create? And when I say create, think broadly. I don't consider myself creative, but I've come to believe we are all creators. We create all the time, starting with our thoughts, to our words, to the things we do. You created a household, a family, maybe a business environment, through your leadership style, your work style. You created yourself. Look at you. Look at your closet, the clothes in there. That is you. Your accomplishments and your failures. That is all you. We all create, consciously or not. And I also believe we all want to create even more. There's a reason we go to museums and admire the work of famous creators. We look up at architectural marvels, starting from the pyramids to the brand new construction that is underway on your street somewhere. We follow artists, singers, authors on social media and on TV. We want to know their stories. We are inspired by success. We all have a small dream inside somewhere of becoming someone that participates in the creation process. We all want to contribute in some form, even if we don't think we do. Deep inside, I believe, everyone does. We overcommit to our jobs, or we pursue things on the side. We want to make a difference in some way. Maybe you are yearning to start a business, to write a book, to learn to play the violin, develop the next best app, to start an innovative charity or organization, or push into a new market with a really cool product. Maybe you want to build a garden, make your own jewelry, start a cooking blog, or just have another amazing idea of something that would help a ton of people. I know you feel you have something significant to contribute, or a burning desire to create, but you haven't done it yet. Yesterday, I covered part 1 of The War of Art, which identifies that thing that holds you back from your creative venture, that force called the resistance. And today I want to give you a few highlights from part 2, which is all about combating this invisible force. Pressfield refers to it as turning pro, and he wrote a follow-up book with the same title, which is next on my list of books to read. Here's another quote by Somerset Maugham. "I write only when inspiration strikes. Fortunately, it strikes every morning at 9 o'clock sharp." And this quote really sums up part 2. Because the most important thing you can do about resistance is to work. Nothing else matters except sitting down every day and trying. And Pressfield emphasizes this all throughout his book. Part 2 is titled How to Combat Resistance, but it also really takes you through the things you need to consider prior to starting anything. What to expect, basically. So here we go. Quote, "The professional loves it so much that he dedicates his life to it. He commits full time." And the author refers here to the work, the creative endeavor. Working on it every day is what sets a professional apart from an amateur. So the best piece of advice, but also the least attractive piece of advice, is this: you have to commit. And that means you want to do this. I've talked about it in previous episodes, So go through the topics to find some inspiration. Turning pro really is someone who plays for the love of the game, like any athlete that commits full time. Someone who does not wait for inspiration to inspire action, but rather commands inspiration to come by starting the action. And even if it's only for a few minutes every day. Quote, "The artist must be like a marine. He has to know how to be miserable." And that is certainly a harsh statement. But if you think about it, he's right. Pursuing your craft will not be easy. For me, it means a lot of time alone. I have to decline invitations left and right. Otherwise, I would not get my episodes to you in time. Most likely that is true for many artistic ventures, unless they are performed in a group. You may find yourself on a tight financial budget. Fulfilling your dream will come either at a cost or at an expense of something else. Possibly a full-time job. In whatever you do, you surely will not get everyone's approval. So people may distance themselves, maybe reject you or make fun of you. But that's where the first point comes into play. And that is love. If you love what you do, then your misery will not feel so miserable. At least not most of the time. And just one more point of consideration here. Yes, you may lose some friends, but you will make new friends in the process of undertaking your dream. Next quote. "He prepares his mind for the long haul." Which to me translates into patience. Let me tell you about patience. If you don't have patience, life will teach you. I think patience is a lesson we all must learn at some point. But if you are pursuing your dream, you really need to be ready for patience. All the numbers and statistics you read prior to launching that tell you how long this and that should take, they will be wrong. So just plan on it taking time. Sign up for the long haul and stick with it. So many people have failed so many times until one day, the stars aligned. Of course you will have limiting factors. Money may be one, and maybe you have to shut the doors of your business. And then, okay, maybe it is something else for you. I know someone that writes songs and performs, and he's done so for many years. His music is really good, and I'm not just saying that because I know him. It can be found on iTunes and on Spotify. He has videos on YouTube, and sometimes he appears on TV. But his songs are not in the top charts. This stuff takes time, but he keeps trying. Of course, I can't say if he's doing everything right. I just know he loves his craft, and he keeps going, one great song after another. So you have to have patience. Next quote. "The professional masters how and leaves what and why to the gods." It's trust. Trust that what brought you here will lead you somewhere. Overanalyzing is what holds us back. Follow inspiration and execute on it. The words that came to mind on your morning walk, write them down. Use them. They are asking for it. An inkling to sign up for an art class that was offered to you in the catalog that arrived in the mail? Go for it. Something inside of you is waking up. Follow that intuition and don't question too much. Second guessing while you're halfway through, asking too many people what they think, trying to figure out why. Trust and go with the process. Instead of wondering and guessing, which is of course resistance knocking, spend your energy on doing the best job you can. Quote, "The professional cannot allow the actions of others to define his reality." And this is so important. I think half our stuff doesn't get done because of other people. Their opinions, most of which we don't really know. We just assume that they're negative. And then their actions, most of which have nothing to do with us. And this is why I said earlier, don't ask too many people for their opinion. You'll get too many viewpoints and they will confuse you. Just plow along and don't worry about other people. My advice when it comes to other people: find those who you can learn from, those whose knowledge and expertise help drive your project forward, and those who support you. And the rest, don't worry too much about them. Your work may get rejected, criticized, or simply not acknowledged. Don't judge your work based on that. Is it work that is helping you or someone else? Good. Is it bringing you forward in a good way? Great. Then continue. And I'm going to end this episode with something that I want to just read to you straight from the book of part 2. It's so good that I couldn't find any other words to express it. Here you go. It's on page 108. Because when we sit down day after day and keep grinding, something mysterious starts to happen. A process is set into motion by which, inevitably and infallibly, heaven comes to our aid. Unseen forces enlist in our cause. Serendipity reinforces our purpose. This is the other secret that real artists know and wannabe writers don't. When we sit down each day and do our work, power concentrates around us. The muse takes note of our dedication. She approves. We have earned favor in her sight. When we sit down and work, we become like a magnetized rod that attracts iron filings. Ideas come, insights accrete. Just as resistance has its seats in hell, so creation has its home in heaven. And it's not just a witness, but an eager and active ally. So with that, I feel we can end this episode. And I hope this has given you not just an interesting insight into a book that you may have not read or heard of before, but hopefully also inspired you in some way to maybe start something that you've been thinking about, and maybe even identify some reasons why you haven't started. Resistance, I feel, can be very strong if you allow it to be, but there are ways around it. And to repeat what Pressfield says throughout this book and what I've said in this episode, if you decide I'm going to do it, and you start, and then you do it every single day, you can overcome resistance. And with that, I wish you success in all your endeavors. And thank you for listening today. Much love.